Good morning parents and welcome to this week's Headmaster's video blog. It's Friday the 27th of November. It's been another busy week here in the school as we start to prepare in earnest for the end of term and all of the challenges that presents in the current climate. I have good news in that we have managed to arrange a festive Christmas lunch for all of the boys, which will spread across Monday and Tuesday. And Mrs. Witts will send you an email to that effect if she hasn't done so already, and ask that the boys wear Christmas jumpers on the Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday of the last week of term. Of course we will still be doing teaching, but we do feel that we want to celebrate the end of the term and Christmas and give everyone a really cheery send-off into the holiday. But fantastic news that we're able to run the Christmas lunch. It will be across 2 days. It will require several seatings and for the catering team to be on Sunday at the weekend to prepare. So a massive thank you in advance to Jane Chandler and all of her team for the efforts that they're putting in to make sure that the boys don't miss out. And of course, in the last few days, Boris has been busy and he has now provided some degree of clarity about what we can do as families over Christmas with a certain degree of relaxation of the tiered rules between the 23rd and the 27th of December, I think, if my memory serves correctly. So we have a little bit of leeway to look forward to a few days with our families, but the cost of that, I'm sure, will be caught up in January. And as yet, the implications for schools are unclear. There is some consensus that it is very unlikely that we will be locked down again, at least in terms of schools being shut. But it is, I'm afraid, an eventuality that we can never rule out 100%. But I do think that that is extremely unlikely. Certainly, I understand that the Department for Education is looking closely at the tier system within schools. So just to be clear, this is not the tiered system socially that the government is talking about. But if you remember, this is the tiered system within schools themselves, so that if there were certain challenges being presented in terms of staffing or pupils falling ill, you might remember that we wrote to you back in the term and suggested that there might be sort of some year groups in on some days and others on other days, etc. I understand that that is now being revised to a much simpler process where schools will either remain open or they will be shut. That is as yet unconfirmed. It would simplify things greatly, but of course present an enormous logistical challenge in terms of keeping things open and running fluidly should we be presented with a significant or serious outbreak here at the school. As yet, we have been incredibly fortunate. I say fortunate, but also extremely rigorous. Prevention, of course, is better than cure. You should know by now that is my watchword. And I am, again, hugely grateful to Sally Witts, the Bursarial team, the estates team, and indeed all of the teachers and the pupils themselves for really taking on the rigours of learning the one-way system, washing their hands regularly, using the face coverings, sanitising, and in general just being very mature and grown up in a situation of adversity. And we've come through together this far at this time of speaking without a case directly affecting the school, and long may that continue. I really, really hope that I'm not touching wood too soon. Now in Assembly this week, we have concentrated on incremental gains in terms of our core value of respect for this term. We have insisted in fact, that all pupils in the school look you in the eye and say good morning, good afternoon, pleases, thank yous, stand aside for adults on the stairway, hold open doors, just really small things that every single person can do to make it a positive and rewarding environment here at school for all. Now, there are some fantastic role models, particularly in years 9, 10 and 11, who absolutely manifest those on a day-to-day basis. There are others for whom it's a work in progress. I would like to see a huge consistency of those very simple but very important aspects of manners and respect by every single individual in the school. And parents, I would ask you please to reinforce those core messages. It's what makes Kingswood House stand out when we have visitors being shown around, but more importantly it helps engender a feeling of well-being from the staff when they can see that the children are grateful and respectful to their elders. Right, moving on to Headmaster's mentions in dispatches this week. We have got so many names to read out. It is sort of incumbent, really, and suggestive of how many wonderful things are happening on a day-to-day basis here at the school. Some of them align very closely with exactly the kind of examples I've talked about in terms of respect, and others are academic and others social, but they're all great achievements nonetheless. So I offer my congratulations to all of the boys therein. Rafi Martins for being helpful in class from Mrs. Lambert, Zachary Bland for great work in mathematics from Mrs. Marskell, Ben Scudamore for great work from Miss Smith, Harry Boundy for great work on the stall for Nelson House Day from Miss Forbes, and Sam Atkins has been nominated for excellent scores in mental maths by Mrs. Seaver. Well done to Lauti Jasnikowski for passing grade 1 violin from Miss Ruetz, Rex Treadwell and Howard for continued hard work in science from Mr. Barrett, Dylan Newman, who gave up part of his break time to help another child find something that he had lost. This was spotted by Madame Swift, and I think is one of my absolute favourite nominations this week. Dylan, you're a superstar. I want to see more like that. Freddie Taylor, well done to you. You've had a really good improved attitude this week from Mr. Clark. James Miller, another one I really like here, forfeiting his time at Nelson House Day to help another boy make a sign for his stall. Love that, James. Well done to you. Jack Guiney, Harry Peters and Benji Schumacher in science from Mr. Barrett. Josh Draper for great positivity around the school, and that was from me, incidentally. Whenever I see Josh, he's always wearing a real smile. He just loves it here, and it's absolutely infectious. I love it. Well done to you. Avanish Gunjal, real positive attitude, ready to attempt new things. A very important growth mindset quality there from Mr. Barrett. Bo Clark for being helpful in art from Mrs. Wraith. Avanish again for full marks in French from Madame Taylor. Bo Clark once more for being helpful and cleaning up the keyboards in music. He was not asked to do this, but came up in his own spare time at break so that all the boys had clean keyboards to use. Miss Foster is delighted with you, and also Dylan Bishop, who did the same. Well done, Dylan. And Dylan has also been nominated by Miss Black for demonstration in Kingswood Houseway values. Well done, Dylan. Joel Mukarati's had a good week and engaged well in form activities. Ollie Dimmick and Shay are both very enthusiastic and engaged in form time as well. Elliot Nicolau and Henry Trianar in science for great microscope slide preparations by Mr. Barrett. And Henry Trianar in general has had a good week. Well done from Mr. Clark and the team. Jay Huang, well done to you for overcoming your fears and taking part in a football game. A real personal milestone from Miss Patel. All of Year 7 boys have created a good impression with Mrs. Wraith and Art for your work on the Huntertwasser project. And Enzo, well done to you. Full marks in French from Madame Taylor. Rory Fitzpatrick, great attitude towards your studies since half term. Good consistency observed by Mr. Lordy. Well done also to all of ATEL for a great history lesson from Mrs. Hornstetter. Tommy Wood has been nominated for good work in art by Mrs. Wraith. And Charlie Leonard, another one with full marks in French from Madame. Oliver Ward, well done to you. You've knuckled down well in the last 2 weeks and it has been noted. Daniel Pepper also really positive and seemingly much happier. Good consistency from you, Daniel. Keep it up. Joe Schooling also, a good effort from you recently, been noted as well. And Oscar Davino definitely has turned a leaf since half term, all of which have been noted. Please keep it up, boys. Well done to Ted Bunyar-Ames for sharing war medals from his family history from Mr. Twinley. And Ted Bunyar-Ames and Jack were seen by myself on my Sunday walk, my Sunday dog walk, making safe a tree that had fallen across a path in the Yarbrook Woods in Claygate with his granddad. And he was sawing this tree into smaller bits to make sure it didn't present an obstacle for anyone who needed to use the path who might have had difficulty stepping over it. Great community spirit. Loved that, boys, and really proud of you both. Well done to Zachary Fitzgibbon, who has been observed at being very polite. He always says please, always says thank you, and really cheerful greetings. A good morning, a good afternoon, and have a nice evening. It all goes a long way. Zachary, well done. Well done to Bogdan also, Tobias van Henningen, Archie Spick, Lucas Cressy, Owen Courtney and Ben Choi, who were the closest to escaping the music room after it was turned into an escape room for enrichment. The boys successfully answered 7 out of 8 musical puzzles and were working on the last one when they ran out of time, but they demonstrated great code breaking and musical mathematics and crossword skills. Well done from Miss Foster. And a big congratulations to Stuart. Stuart Coleman has won a rugby scholarship to Blundell's in Devon. Stuart, you were absolutely brilliant on the Jersey tour back in the spring term, and you are certainly a Billy Vunipola in the making. We'll be sorry to see you go, but what an amazing opportunity. Well done to you. Into year 9, I really enjoyed, as did Mr. Mitchell, all of the perfect pitch, stride presentations about their business and enterprise. They have got an enterprise fair coming up next Tuesday. It was a really good afternoon, and Mr. Austin, our Deputy Chair of Governance, was one of the Dragon's Den panel, along with myself and Mrs. Witts, and we were very impressed with the way that the boys stepped up to present. I'm looking forward to seeing them sell their wares next Tuesday. Into 9H, Will Moffat, Will Hamilton, Joe Seeger and Ollie Kennard have been nominated for English work by Mr. March. Peter Duncan, 2 nominations for you. Really insightful comments in class from Mr. Twinley, and good work in biology along with James Giles from Miss Patel. And Tommy Collins, well done to you for adapting to use the read and write software with your mid-years tests from Mrs. Webb. Eddie Fisher's been nominated in 10H for kindness, numerous acts of kindness by Mrs. Hornstetter. Great role model, Eddie, well done. Angelo Cooper has accommodation for classics from Mrs. Weston. Ed Bolton has been nominated by Mrs. Weston for being prompt in the mornings, well organised, upbeat and cheerful. And Ali Dawson has been noticed to run back and open a door for a member of staff who was approaching it. So that is also being a really good role model as a senior pupil. Well done, Ali. Jessica Samampalai has produced a great all-round standard of work in classics. Ewan Walker has been working well in science. And Theo Spick has been very helpful to Mrs. Webb by testing a software app. And Mr. Mitchell's very pleased with Milo Russell, Ewan, who have achieved level 9 grades. That's the highest grade you can get in their recent GCSE geography assessments on coasts. Into year 11, following the very informative assembly on respect by Mrs. Wraith last week, the boys took part in a collective decision to focus a discussion about disrespect and consider all of the ideas surrounding that. Really encouraging to see their mature thinking, noted Mr. Bailey. Well done to James Totham also, who had an interesting discussion with him about bullying following the anti-bullying week, and also the news about Priti Patel. So well done to you, James, for being very grown up about that. Theo Byrne has contributed to Mr. Sickdale's pupil briefing on grit. Theo spoke about the Vendée Globe, which is the greatest individual sailing race around the world, and he spoke with great contribution and knowledge. So thank you from Mrs. Wraith and Mr. Sickdale. And finally, well done to Guy Newton and Siyun Lee for full marks as well in your GCSE geography vocabulary tests. So parents, I think you would agree there is a growing and wonderful amount of good news to share with you about your sons. And I will continue to read out as many names as it takes, because I think that in this particular time, every single child, and indeed you, the parents, and myself as the head of the school, we want to celebrate every little success, no matter how small or how trivial or how grand and how large. The Dispatches is meant to cover it all and to finish our week in a blaze of glory. And I must say, just reading that out again, I obviously did that in assembly with the boys on Wednesday, but reading it out again here on Friday, it just reminds me how wonderful this school can be in terms of just focusing on that level of personal attention and care that is just so hard to find in a bigger environment. A really uplifting end to our week. I hope you have a tremendous weekend.